Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Two Peas in a Podcast. Whoop, whoop, with your glorious, beautiful host, me, Katie. Hi.
And your co-host, Jessica, me. Hi.
She's not co-host, she's duo-host, but we're doing the her thing today. Anyway, we're so glad to see you guys are back, and you come back and joined us again. We didn't put you off on the first episode, which is nice, and you're here for this very exciting conversation we're about to have. What are we talking about today, Jess?
We are going to talk about dreams. Some significant dreams that we've had. What are dreams? What do they mean to us? And then, of course, we have some submissions that came from the comments of dreams that our dream analysis expert, Katie, is going to decipher because I'm not good at it at all. I really do quickly, before we get into this, guys, I want to first thank everybody for being here. It's amazing that you guys want to be along for the ride. So thank you. And then secondly, I want to thank you, Katie, because you are truly the magic behind this. Y'all, I don't do anything. I just show up. And I write the format for the episode. That's it. She does the editing. She does the Zoom meetings. She does everything. So thank you, Katie, for
Don't be daft. We're in it together, Chickadee. We're in it together, and I couldn't ask for a better co-host, right? Right. Anyway, enough with the schmaltzy thing out the way. We've done it now. You're all good. We won't schmaltz anymore this episode. We'll try not to anyway. We can't promise, right? So, dreams, fascinating subject. Really, really interesting. Everybody dreams. That's always a question I get. I don't remember my dreams. I don't have them. Yeah, you do. You're just not remembering them. Everybody dreams. And it's a really interesting concept about what's happening with a dream, where's it coming from, what does it mean? And we're going to dig into this and try and get some kind of our take on it anyway. We're not like, gurus of dreams, but we have experiences and knowledge, so we're going to see what we can do. So I suppose the first question is, my darling, what is a dream to you?
Well, to me, I'm kind of split on this. Sure. I've been thinking about this. Part of me thinks that dreams are just all the subconscious stuff, the emotions, the things that we don't process throughout the day because we're really busy, kind of playing out as we sleep to give us a moment to process it. But then there's another part of me that feels like dreams are quite spiritual and they do have a spiritual meaning behind them. And then it can be a connection to the divine. So I'm kind of split down the middle with that. I think that dreams are just a phenomena that we're not truly going to ever understand completely.
I agree. And actually, your analysis of what a dream is, I agree with you. I think that the brain is processing the daily events, but also, of course, if we've had trauma and pain and heartache and stuff, the brain takes a while to process that through. So sometimes it's not just that day, it's other stuff you're going through. But yeah, I mean, we all know, I'm sure that we've all had significant dreams and dreams that we can know have a very deeper meaning to us. So I would argue that it is both.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't have very many like prophetic dreams, but I have dreams that connect me to what I'm going on in the moment.
Yeah.
Or give me a different view of something that I haven't, that I didn't know before. I think that some of my dreams too are actually like astral projection.
Okay, and for the audience, you want to define what that is?
Well, astral projection is, I believe it, for me personally, it's like when your soul leaves your body and it's able to just be free and go wherever and have different experiences, pretty much in layman's terms. And which I'm not an expert in that, and I haven't been somebody that I find myself to astral travel or astral project a lot. But I think that some of the dreams I've had, that's what that's been.
I wouldn't be surprised. You messaged me and you're like, girl, I woke up and I'm tired. I was doing something while I was asleep.
Y'all, it's not even a lie, because like every single morning, not every single morning, but most mornings, I wake up and I have some kind of crazy dream that I'm going to tell Katie. She's like my dream person that I go to first thing in the morning. Like, I dreamed about this, and some of them are just, they don't make sense.
No. And we've said that now, haven't we? It's like we can't define and decipher every dream because some of them are just weird.
Yeah. Some dreams are weird. They really are.
But yeah, I know some people do have prophecies in dream time. I actually, well, as far as I can remember off the top of my head, I don't think I've ever had a prophecy dream, but I do know people that have.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends what the dream is, of course. If it's something exciting and glorious and wonderful, that's one thing, because obviously that's great. It's
Yeah.
when it's tends to be something more traumatic and shocking, then that's really disconcerting, because I think that the dreamer can then worry, okay, what do I do about this if it is a prophecy? No one's
Yeah.
going to believe me. Or like on thinking on some kind of level that they've helped cause whatever's going to happen because they've dreamt about it.
Yeah.
It's like such a weird thing, because how do you know it's a prophecy until the thing then has happened in real life?
Yeah, and I think that there's that worry about it that kind of can stick with you. I know my mom, bless her heart, she used to have a lot of prophetic dreams. She
Mm.
would dream about things and then they would happen, like exactly as she had dreamt it. So that actually would give her anxiety when she would have dreams that weren't so great.
Yeah.
It's almost like a waiting for it to happen. And some didn't happen, but some did, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It must be crazy. Like I say,
Mm-hmm.
one of the big movies that's out at the moment is the Final Destination franchise, which I know is not a dream, but I'm thinking, like, can you imagine having the dream like that? And then, like, what do you do? How do you wake up and tell someone? Because no one's going to believe you.
Yeah, and just on some side stuff, that preview for that trailer looked awesome. I've not really been into the Final Destination stuff because it's kind of creepy. Like it's
Mm.
a little creepy, you know. But that one looks just really awesome. So, but yeah,
My
I don't
my
know.
22-year-old watched them all for the first time this week. He's never seen them before, and he gets, if you know, you know, if you know, you know. He now goes, I now understand why you don't want to drive behind trucks with logs on them. I was like, thank you. It's creepy as hell.
It's creepy because those things really do snap. But I don't know. You know, we have to just do our best here
Mm-hmm.
at any given moment.
Mm-hmm. One thing I do know for sure is that when I'm going through something in my personal real life,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of, dead stressful, dead traumatic, dead whatever, my dreams be like, oof, they're a whole different flavor when I'm not in a good headspace, right?
Yes. I've noticed that when I'm really, really anxious, that's when I have the anxiety dreams that just don't
Mm.
make any sense. And I think we do chalk a lot of my dreams up to anxiousness with me
Yeah.
because I do have a lot of anxiousness energy in my body. Um, but yeah, when I'm like stressing about something, that's when my dreams are just, yeah, yeah.
Let's say it's wild because, like I say, your brain is literally trying to just process, which means that a lot of times it can give you a really worst case scenario, which doesn't help the anxiety, right? Because you're like, I was already anxious going to sleep. I've
Yeah.
woken up in a whole different realm of anxiety now. Thanks so much.
You know, looking up like from a dream. This isn't one of the dreams I want to share, but just really quickly. I mean, I had a dream that there was a spider on my pillow next to me, and it woke me up, and I literally shot out of bed and ran across the room to the bathroom. And then, like, when you have dreams like that, you're like, was it a dream or was that actually really a spider on my pillow next to me? Now I have to, fluff everything around and change everything. I'm sorry, there was a weird noise. I don't know what that noise was. There was
It has the
noise.
spooky spiritual stuff going on even when she's not doing readings, right?
I'm
the
used
best
to
one.
things happening, so it's cool.
The best one's when you dream that your partner is cheating,
Yes.
and then you wake up and you're mad at them and it was just a
Yeah.
dream, and they don't know what the hell you dream, but like you've got an attitude with them because of what you dreamt that they've been getting up to. You're like, how
Listen,
could you? And they're like, what? I'm asleep.
listen, sister. I don't need a dream to create false realities in my head about men. Okay, I can do that just on my own. Thank you very much. But listen, I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just saying in the past when I've dreamt that somebody's cheating on me, they usually were.
I mean, is that a prophecy or is that just, I don't know.
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 We'll save that for another episode, perhaps.
That's the tea right there. But yeah, I mean, it's yeah. The point is the dreams are crazy as.
Yes.
One of the questions I get asked a lot in the work that I do is I'm dreaming about, and it's always an ex, right? I dream about an ex. Does that mean that like this part of me that still wants them? Does it mean they're going to come back? Does it mean blah, blah, blah? Now, in my experience, yeah, okay, fair. It can mean that, sure. But for me, your brain latches onto people that you know as a placeholder. So say like I wanted to dream about some kind of romantic interaction, it's easier for my brain to pick up somebody that I've already had a dalliance with, if you like, than somebody that I don't even know, because my brain knows that person and knows what they look like. So sometimes they literally are just a placeholder. But it's not nice to wake up and go, why am I dreaming about that person? Like, seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. And with my personal dreams and stuff that I have, dreaming about somebody that you really don't want to dream about, to think about this person anymore. On the physical, on the 3D, I'm disconnected from this person. So why do I keep dreaming about them? I think that there's also a part of like, there's unresolved things sometimes. And, because again, how it goes back to what I had said at the very beginning of what I think that dreams are. I do think that there are sometimes like unprocessed stuff that you try to work out in your dream space, But yeah, it's not a pleasant feeling when you dream about somebody you just don't want to.
And she had a dream about
or you dream about somebody who's you traditionally look at as like a nice person and they're doing something bad, like the cheating.
Yeah, exactly. I literally had a dream last night about one of my exes, and I was just like, I mean, it wasn't a kind of, intimate dream, shall we say, but it was, they were there, and I was like, I haven't thought about this person in years, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah. It's funny because you don't really actually dream about exes that much.
No,
it's not your thing.
No, my dreams are kind of random, but yeah, he was definitely there, and it was weird. But like I say, the brain, I say unprocessed stuff. Is it just like I say a placeholder? So I want to dream about a guy, and so they're going, well, this guy. Let's put him into that space. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's something there, I mean, I think that when you have dreams like that, you need to analyze like what was the dream, what was the conflict, how did it make you feel, and that's going to help you decipher some things. I think when it comes to people from the past, especially during our pesky little metro retrograde, just got it out for me. It just doesn't like me. It's like I didn't do anything to this Mercury retrograde. Even when I bring it up, it's like, bam, speech goes just in the trash.
But you know that Gemini's planet is Mercury. So why are you shocked that you can't talk?
And I do have a lot of Mercury. Like literally what is it in your chart? I think it's your Mercury that is your communication. It is in Gemini.
Well, there you go.
I have a lot of Gemini in my chart. So.
But every Mercury, you're like, why can I not talk? Because you're a Gemini. That's why.
Listen, I find a way still. I push through.
It still sounds like a jigsaw puzzle, but we get there in the end.
This you cannot stop.
I know. So, okay. I wanted to ask, because I know that we kind of touched on this talking before we started recording, but I think I really want to dive into those dreams that you had, because they're so interesting to me how they link and to show your progression. And I think this is a really good message to give to people watching of like when something like this happens, because you can really see what it's trying to tell you. So tell the people about the dreams that you had, because I think they're fascinating.
Well, I have two dreams that linked, and it doesn't normally happen like this for me, so this was really interesting. A couple months ago, I had a dream, and it was a while ago. I would say like 5 or 6 months ago. I had a dream where I was at a school, and I intuitively knew that it was Milo, my son's school. And I kept walking around trying to find staff, trying to find anybody who was there. It was like empty everywhere. And then I saw a door that said like faculty. And so I went in there, and there was like all these people, and they were kind of looking at me like they didn't like me. And it was like really judgmental looks. And so I was like, okay. And I walked out of that room, and then I made my way down into what looked like a gym area, but it had a big pool in it. And the pool was black. Like the water was black. It was super dark. And I remember looking at that water and thinking, that's the last place that I want to go, is into that dark water. And there were like these lifeguards that I guess were like school attendees or whatever, but they were like, you could tell they were lifeguards. And they were like, oh no, the water's safe. It's fine. Come on, jump in. It's all good. And I'm like, no, it's not. And I kept trying to like stop other people who were jumping into the water. Like, the water's not safe. Don't go in the water. It's not safe. And having like a lot of anxiety and like thinking about like, because it was Milo's school, and I was like, where is Milo? It was a really anxious dream. So kind of when I talked to you, we kind of looked at the water, because water represents emotions.
Yeah.
you know, and then dark water represents unseen emotions or deeper, darker emotions that we don't really want to look at sometimes.
Yeah.
And so we kind of chalked it up to that. Well, the other night, very recently, when was it? Like not even a week ago.
No, I think it was like last weekend or something.
Yeah, it was very, very recently. I had another dream, and this time I was with this group of people, and there was this lake, and the lake had dark water. It was that same black, dark water. And we were going to the other side for whatever reason. And I remember feeling a little bit apprehensive, but I got into the water this time. And I remember when I got into the water, it was fun and the current was like carrying us and we were swimming and we were diving and we were just really enjoying ourselves. And then I got to the other side and then there was a store there. And in the store, it was so weird. And they had Camel cigarettes. And anybody who knows, I quit smoking cigarettes like, gosh, 4 years ago now. Okay. And Camel cigarettes were my favorite kind. And so they had real Camel cigarettes and then they had fake Camel cigarettes. And I was thinking, well, if I'm going to smoke, I'm going to go for the real ones. So I went for the real Camel cigarettes. But then at the last minute, I decided I wasn't going to smoke because in my mind, I knew that I wasn't smoking anymore. Weird, but that's what it was. And then it was time for us to go back across the lake and swim back. And so we all jumped in and we started swimming. And then I noticed off to the side, there was this woman that was like had a really intense look on her face, and we were like, I don't know why we were doing the backstroke, girl. Okay. I don't know why we were doing the backstroke. We were doing the backstroke and she had like this really intense look on her face and she was like trying to race me. And I don't know, I'm not very competitive, but I got into this competitive energy and I raced her and I won and I got back to the shore first and then I woke up. And I'm gonna let you kind of explain like what you kind of deciphered from that, but I feel like people kind of already know the link there with the journey.
I mean, first of all, there's a joke, and I need to say it because it's there. When you couldn't get your Camel cigarettes, did you get the hump? Sorry, real dad joke. I'm sorry. It was there. I had to say it. I'm sorry. Anyways, yes, the fact that it's dark water and you were scared before and anxious and didn't want to go in, and now you're like freaking like a bloody speedboat, jet comes across it, and there's no anxiety, and actually you've got this competitiveness with this woman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you are not afraid of the deep, dark shadow and emotions anymore. You are more prepared to go across them. I mean, we're not diving in. We're not kind of diving, if you like, or diving down. Maybe that's another dream. But you're in the water and you're swimming and you're doing your thing and you're not even thinking about the fear. I think you've come to a much better place with all that stuff than you used to be.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I mean, you know, I'm not going to get into my personal life, but I go through something recently that I feel like kind of activated some of those emotions that I was afraid to look at and that I didn't realize that maybe I still needed to work on or I still had things going on there. And so just that experience, I feel like really helped me look into a deeper, darker part of myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so having that dream, because it happened after that experience, I remember having that dream, it really felt like suddenly I was okay with looking at the depths of my emotion. Because even though you, as my best friend, you know, I am an incredibly emotional person.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel comfortable with my emotions, even though they're pulsating through me at any given moment. I still don't feel that comfortable with the deeper ones. So yeah, I think that's what those link dreams were, and it's really cool to have that experience.
Yeah, it's really your brain going, "Hey, girl, we're progressing, we're ascending, we're good now," you know.
And I did. I felt like, wow, you know, I got into the dark water because, to be honest with you, dark water, or water that I can't see the bottom of in actual real life is something I don't want to go into.
That's a whole different conversation. Maybe we should talk about fears and phobias because that's a whole different conversation, right?
Yes.
I know. But yeah, I think it's really interesting, and it shows again this like the brain is processing, the brain is healing, the brain is, you know, trying to work things through, and I think in a very clear, beautiful way. So yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, and I felt really just, I don't know, different after that.
Yeah,
and more willing to kind of look into myself, which I've been doing. So that's progress, and all that good stuff. Do you want me to talk about my other dream while we're on me, or
yeah, yeah, definitely. Because then your second dream, as I know, then links to one of mine. So it's you go for it again, and then I'll go on to my stuff.
Okay, so my other dream that was significant, and this is probably the most significant dream that I've ever had, and one that I don't think I'll ever forget. It was after my mom passed. It was probably a month or so after she passed, and I was at her house, and she pulled up because my parents have like a roundabout kind of driveway in their yard, and so she pulled up in a car, and she was in the car with my brother that had passed away a long, long, long time ago. And she got out of the car, and I ran up to her, and I was like, you know, that really hurt when you died. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to hurt you. And she like, put her hand on my face, which was something that she really didn't do while she was alive. Like, not to talk anything about my mom, but she was not the most affectionate. She was nurturing, but not the most affectionate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So she wasn't the type of mom that would come up to me and just be like, like this, and very like touching and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, I wasn't trying to hurt you. And I was like, no. I was like, you don't understand. That really hurt when you died. Don't do that again. And she's like, well, I had to go. She's like, but don't worry, this won't be the last time that you see me. And she got back in the car with my brother, and they drove off, and it was the like a strange dream. But I actually don't think that was necessarily me processing things about my mom. I think that was my mom. Like, I really do feel like that was an encounter with her, and that she wanted to let me know that she was okay, because my mom's been with me more now, which almost feels shameful to say, but she's been with me more now after her passing than she was able to be when she was alive. Like, I feel her presence all the time. I see her birthday number, as you know, almost every day, And so I think she just wanted to show me that she was still there with me. But obviously I was upset because I was really hurt. Like, it was surprising when she passed away, and I didn't expect it at all. Nobody expected it. And the amount of pain that I felt, like, there was a little bit of resentment of like, why would you even do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so, but the thing is, it's so, because I think that's the other thing about dreams, right? I mean, we can talk about the processing, and we can talk about the spiritual. And I'll tell you my dream in a minute. I know you know it, but I'll tell the audience. Is that the other thing of a dream is that it can be a visitation.
Yeah.
And there is a massive difference. And you know, because it is like, it is, sometimes dreams, unless you kind of grab hold of them as soon as you wake up, the minute you move, even to go to the toilet or pick up your phone, the dream, it's like trying to hold water in your hands. The more you try and think about it, the more it just slips away. Yeah. But with a visitation, it is like as clear as anything. It's like you will never forget that dream as long as you live. It is clear. Mm-hmm. It is clear, and it feels so real. It's got a very different feel to it than just a dream. And I genuinely believe that it's spirit visitation.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've had a couple dreams about my mom, and all of the dreams that I've had about her, I remember. And there's no like the details getting fuzzy or anything like that. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's because obviously when you go into dream, you go into your subconscious mind. And so in our conscious mind, a lot of us, spirit finds it harder. Well, we find it hard to connect to that, right? Because our ego gets in the way, and our doubts and our anxieties and life gets in the way. When you're in your subconscious mind, there isn't all that stuff clouding it. So we're more open, right? So that's why I think it's easier for a lot of spirit visitations to come through in dreams than it is in the real world.
Yeah, I agree completely. Especially for people who there might be that fear element.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the thing with me, with like, which it can be a topic for another podcast, but like mediumship and stuff. I don't necessarily look at myself as a medium. I know you would disagree, but I feel like there's a fear element there that blocks. And so when you're in the dream, it's like there is no fear,
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, that I had a similar experience. So I very sadly lost my grandparents in 2010 in the most awful, traumatic way. They had a fire outside their flat, apartment, as you would call it. And although they got out but the fire brigade. They both passed away the next day in the hospital. It was awful, 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 awful. And I'd never really dreamt about them before. And this was, I mean, this is going back a while now. It's probably about what, 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. But in the dream, I was in their old house, so not where they ended up living, but the house that they were in before. And I was in the what you would call the backyard, what us Brits call the garden. And they were really like, they loved gardening, so there was plants and flowers, and they were growing vegetables in the corner, and they had a little pond with fish, and there was a shed, and it was a beautiful, beautiful space. And they both saw me, and they came up and gave me a hug and said they were really proud of me and it was lovely to see me. And then they had a little dog called Mackie, we called him. He was a West Highland White Terrier, and he was so lovely. We got him for them, rescued him off a farm, and when we got him, he was like about this big. And he'd been living, of course, in the straw with his mom and stuff, so his fur was yellow. I remember that, and he was like sat on the back seat of the car, like shivering. It was so sweet. But yeah, he was running around, us all like wagging his tail and yapping and really happy. When I woke up, now bear in mind, I don't own a pet. I have twins. My life is fun enough as it is. I don't own an animal at all, right? When I woke up, and I swear this is true, I swear, if you don't believe me, it doesn't matter, this actually happened. This hand was damp on the palm of my hand. And when I was like, what's that? Dog. Yeah. Dog. Absolutely. And I say, I don't own a dog. There is no dog in this house. There is no way a dog could get into this house. My palm was damp and it smelled of dog.
Yeah. And that's
crazy.
And you know what? That's like one of those where it's like, did you go to another place? Like, you know what I mean? Like, was it an astral, like, travel?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've woken up with marks on myself after having dreamt of being somewhere. And I feel like that's what that is for you. Like you traveled to another place.
Yeah.
You know?
It was awesome. And again, like yours, I will never forget it as long as I live. It was real. It was absolutely vivid as hell. So yeah, and I know we're gonna have people in the comments going, I had this dream and I saw, it's because it's such a beautiful thing, but I think it's way more common than we probably realize.
Yeah. And I mean I think it actually is. You know, we put our human brains put limitations on ourselves, but actually we're a soul having a human experience.
Yeah.
We're not able to comprehend how expansive we actually are and what we can do, what limits we can break, you know?
Exactly. My second dream that I was going to share, I was going to originally do the nightmares that I used to have when I was little, but it's just anxiety. So I was like, I actually want to talk about something that's a bit more positive, because people don't realize this is a thing. And I didn't realize this was a thing until I went and kind of did some research. So I had a recurring dream when I was a teenager, where in the dream, I would stand in my bedroom, but I could see the street light coming in the window. And I would spin around really, really fast, like Wonder Woman, like that. And as I spun, I would lift off the floor. And then I could fly around my room, right? And then the window would open, I would fly out into the street. And I had this a few times. Now, I did not know this, so I looked it up. Guess what that means? And go, just as a guess, Jess, what do you think that means?
I have no idea. I'm thinking it's going back to like astral travel for me. Like, you know,
everything's astral travel, right? From a psychological point of view, which, you know, I'm doing a psychology degree at the moment, it's fascinating. But from a psychological point of view, it's sexual awakening.
Really?
Really? Yeah, I know that was my face as well.
How?
Because you are transcending, so you're like, it's like the child self into the more mature self, and then the freedom of being able to fly in that space. I don't make it up. That's what I read.
People, I'm not doubting you at all or what the meaning actually is. It's just like how somebody took that and linked it to sexual awakening is like, where, how? But okay. You know?
Well, hey, if you follow Freud, as you know, everything is to do with that. So, you know,
was that person the one that came up with that?
I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, it just surprised me because I didn't have that dream when I was a kid. I had that dream when I was a teenager, which of course, when you're hitting puberty and you're getting feelings and thoughts and stuff, and that's when I started having that dream.
Okay. Wow. Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's interesting. So anybody's having flying dreams, I'm just saying it could be to do with that part of your life. Could be, right?
Katie's a freak.
Hey. Well, again, I suppose it depends again on the emotion of the dream. Like if you're flying and you are like really frightened and having anxiety, then maybe it's not such a positive dream. It depends what the feeling behind it is the dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. That threw me off. I don't think you've ever told me that before.
Well, there you go. You'll be messaging me later going, what the hell?
You'll warn me next time. No, I just
no, I know. Okay, I thought I didn't think I told you, but yeah, that was. I say I've not had that dream for years. So again, it felt very kind of time framed, as it were.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. But yes, we have had some submissions, like I said. So I wrote down their little names on YouTube and everything. I'm organized with my notepad. So the first one we had is from subscriber watch TZ8IY. Forgive me, watch Tizzy, I suppose. And they said they get eyes, human eyes and animal eyes. And when they look into the eye, then they can say who the eye belongs to. Right? Now, what do you think about that, Jess, before I give you my thoughts? What do eyes say to you?
So much in my life, but this is not one of those things. I just am not good at dream interpretation for whatever reason. Okay, so eyes. Eyes for me can talk about psychic abilities and psychic awakening. So I would say connecting with people, connecting with animals, perhaps, being able to possibly see deeper into animals or into people than what maybe you would naturally and normally be able to. But on the shadow aspect of that, eyes can also be maybe feeling like invasive energy watching you. So there could possibly be maybe a feeling there of feeling like you're always being watched, or feeling like there's an exposure there, or there's a not wanting to be vulnerable, or maybe feeling an uncomfortable feeling with being vulnerable, perhaps. And but
says that she's not good with interpretation. That's literally what I was going to say.
I was going to say take it further with looking something head on, because when you look at somebody, because you know how like when you have people, like they say that if somebody's staring at you and making you uncomfortable, you should look at them to show them that I see you, and so there could be something there with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as we come back to previously, it's the emotion behind the dream, right? So how are you feeling in the dream when you see these eyes? And maybe different eyes give different emotions. That's quite interesting. So see, like, when I'm seeing a certain animal, am I more anxious? Or if I'm seeing a person, am I happier? That was also a clue. But yeah, the emotion of the dream will point to the interpretation of the dream. So again, if you're seeing these eyes that's giving you a lot of anxiety and a lot of concern, then I would argue it's more the shadow interpretation of feeling watched and judged and feeling, slightly paranoid, perhaps slightly uncomfortable in the space. But if it's a positive feeling and you're feeling like it's something good, then I would argue it is to do with potential awakening and of gifts, of abilities, and deepening into that part of self.
Yeah, and possibly even like your spirit guides, your spirit team watching you, showing you that they're there. But that, of course, be back to what you said about how comfortable you feel. Because your team, your guides are not going to give you signs that are going to creep you out or make you feel comfortable. They want to connect with you. So they're not going to do things that are going to make you be like, okay, well, I never want to have that experience again. Like they're going to give you things where you're like, oh, okay. So that's why a lot of people get like feathers or angel numbers or songs.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. Cool. So the second one was from Light Goddess 1362, and she gets, or he gets, I'm guessing it's a she, lions or a large cat at the front door, and they're afraid of it, but it does not attack them. Now, cats speak to our magical, intuitive side, right? So, for example, when you see a cat out and about, and I know that obviously with your book, Animal Souls, Jess, that's a plug there. I know that cats, you know, it is, you see an animal soul, the cat, it is to do with your own inner magic and your own inner power, right? So, if the cat is this side of yourself that potentially you are kind of slightly scared of, but it's not dangerous, it's not actually hurting you, it's not attacking you. Now, lions is a different thing, because a lion to me immediately talks about, I think of Leo energy. I also think of the strength card from tarot.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got this kind of prideful, leadership, ambitious nature. You've also got kind of, again, the ego, because the thing about Leos, as we know, is they like to be seen, they like to look pretty, they like to kind of people have eyes on them. But there's something here about their own inner self is causing them anxiety, but they're also being given the message that it's not attacking them, it's not dangerous.
Right. That's interesting, because that was immediately what I thought when you said that, was that she has some kind of inner magic, or they have kind of inner magic, inner power that is there with them, but is also not forcing itself on them. Because I find it really interesting that the cats are waiting at the door. Like, they're not, you know, being invasive and kind of coming in and bombarding her. They're waiting for her to accept this power, accept this gift, you know? So very, very interesting energy. That's an interesting dream.
Yeah, I'll say. And I think, you know, if you're watching this, hopefully you are, and this resonates, then it's to kind of look at what it is you're frightened of, what it is stopping you and getting in the way. And also potentially to start maybe just like putting one toe in the water and doing a bit of research with something that makes you feel comfortable. Because I feel intuitively that any step towards the door will help ease the anxiety, no matter what it is. So that's, you know.
Yeah, and I think that it specifically has to do with confidence, power, inner magic. Because when I think of cats, I think like house cats, domesticated cats, I think of independence.
Yes, of course.
But when I think of big cats, I think of power.
Yeah.
Like an animalistic type of just power that's within you. So very interesting dream. That's interesting.
Very interesting. And the last one was from April Van Mansfield 7922. And this was a really interesting question. And I want to see what you think about this, because their question is that they don't necessarily remember their dreams, but they have a lot of daydreams. Is this also tapping into the subconscious? Now, my argument would be yes, absolutely. Because although you're awake, the fact that you're able to go into a daydream, and you can really go into a daydream if you have the time and the space, you can really, it can become like a whole 4K HD world, right? Well, that's coming from somewhere. And somebody, when I help people, you know, spiritually and, you know, creatively, and they'll say, well, how do I know that I'm not just making it up? How do I know that my intuition is not my imagination? And my argument to that is, what's the difference? Because to me, imagination is coming from somewhere. And I would actually argue that your imagination, you're actually channeling, even if you're not fully aware of what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think a little bit of delusion is healthy in life.
Sure.
Everything in moderation. Because, like, just for example, like if you have something that you want to achieve that feels impossible, you have to have a level of delusion to be able to go after it, you know? So yeah. What I instantly heard with Miss April, who I recognize, by the way, was crown chakra. And also, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but lack of groundedness. She's not grounded in to the earth. She's floating around up there somewhere most of the time. And so her brain, her energy is having a hard time deciphering when it's actually in the conscious versus the subconscious, which is something that I talk about on the channel sometimes, because actually part of mindful thinking and staying present is working in your conscious mind. Because we're actually working in our subconscious mind more than we realize. You know, when we have these thoughts to just run without us trying, like, and they can be positive thoughts or they can be negative thoughts, you know, like, oh, I'm a piece of crap or whatever. But it's being conscious and putting yourself in the conscious mind and actually trying to consciously be like, okay, how many times can I say conscious? But sorry, but to be like, you know, I'm going to think positive things, or this is how I'm going to think about this, or this is what I want to think about right now. That's actually exhausting. It's actually easier to just let your brain go and think whatever. And I think that Miss April, that's kind of, she's up there floating. I think her crown chakra, because they're showing me, because I don't know what she looks like, but they're showing me like a body, a silhouette, and they're showing me a cone like this. And there's like glowy purpley light that's just like, oh, like she's very open. And so I would say that, yeah, when she's having a lot of daydreams, if there's things that are significant, I would say to write those things down when she snaps out of it, you know?
Absolutely. It reminds me a little bit of, so when I first awakened 15 years ago now, good Lord, my life at that time was not sparkly and shiny and rainbows. And so I found that I wanted to go up and out more than I wanted to be in this body, because it was nicer up there. It was nicer with the angels and the Akashic records and, you know, meditation and stuff. So I would be out of my body and in my subconscious a lot. But actually then I was disconnected from myself, because you realize that yes, we are spiritual beings, but we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and we've come here deliberately on earth at this time in this body. So it's to bring that in and to find the balance between the two. So if you're constantly daydreaming a lot, and like Jess said, and you're not grounded, you're not in your body, and so it's to address maybe what is going on in your life, and do you actually want to be present in it?
Yes, and I think that is like right on the money, girlfriend. Like, yeah, I think that is such a valid point there, because I actually remember being told when I first was going through like my whole spiritual awakening, being told by my former mentor that I was actually more in the 5D than I was in the 3D, and I needed to work on grounding myself and bringing myself back down. I think that, not to get off topic of the podcast, but I don't think it really matters. I think that when we go through spiritual awakenings or any kind of ascension, I think we naturally assume, just like healing, that it's going to be pleasant and it's going to be gentle and it's going to be comfortable and I'm going to feel really nice and good. But actually, it's almost like being just shaken and rattled awake from a slumber.
Yeah.
When you think about, like, if you've been sleeping and you're sleeping and it's good, like you've been sleeping real good, and then somebody comes in your room and they're like, hey, what? You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, Jesus God. Like, you know, like it's like you're back and you're awake and you're aware and everything's hitting you. That's what I would say that's my physical representation of what a spiritual awakening is actually like. And I think that with Miss April, there could be something there where it's a need to look at, like, is she happy in her life? Is she feeling disconnected from things? Is there things that she would like to see change or growth in?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. A great analogy, you know, and as moms, we know that feeling very well.
You can be angry too when you get woken up and you weren't expecting it, and you're just like, there's a resentfulness, like, you know, because I'm not calling anybody out, but I do get comments sometimes of like, well, I didn't ask for this awakening and I don't want this awakening. And it's like, did you not ask for it, or did you just not expect it to be this way?
Exactly. It's not sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. We know that. But that is, again, it's a podcast. Maybe we should talk about our awakenings, because, oof, it's a whole thing, right? But anyways, let us know if you want us to talk about that, and we'll dive in, because, mine was very interesting. But anyway, that's a different day. But anyway, ultimately, I think in summary, dreams are complicated. I don't think, like you say, the brain is one of those things that we still, even now, scientists don't fully understand every single aspect of it.
Yeah.
But if you want to know more about your dreams and you want to connect more to your dreams, my biggest advice, my biggest takeaway, have some kind of, not your phone. Your phone, you know, people, everything's on the phone. But the minute you pick up the phone when you wake up, the dream will go. You need to kind of stay as sleepy as you possibly can. So you have a piece of paper, a notepad, it can be tiny, has it got to be big, and a pen or a pencil, and you literally, as soon as you wake up, don't even go to the toilet, write down every single thing that you can remember.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like a couple of words to start off with. Because what you're doing, your brain is just a computer, right? It's all it is. So you're training your mind to go, oh, they want to remember their dream. So the more you show up and you note down what you've dreamt about, the more you'll remember as you move forward. And then they'll really give you messages about what you need to know at this time.
Yeah, I think that's really solid advice. And it's easier said than done sometimes, but I think that do it a couple times, it'll be like second nature. Just really quickly jot down. And you don't have to write a paragraph. You can write like, blue bird, song on the radio, car following me, whatever it is, girl chasing me around my house, which was my dream the other day. What the heck? Okay, I tried to fight her off. I'm like, please.
I got the whole tea of the dream, honest to God. I was just like that. Okay. No, they're crazy. And sometimes it's worth noting that you may not get the message straight away because you can Google, right? So like if you have no access to a dream guru, hello, then there is such thing as Google. And so you can go, I dreamt about a girl chasing me around my house. What does this mean? You'll get answers, right? Yes. So the message, the interpretation may not be relevant right now. It may be like you have to go through a few days or weeks, and then if you look back at those notes, you'll go, oh, now I can see those dream patterns and I can see what the message is. I can see what my brain was trying to tell me.
Yeah, like they say, hindsight is 20/20. I don't know if that's too soon.
No. Hindsight is clarity. Let's say that instead, I think.
Flashbacks when you mentioned 2020. But yeah, no, but it is though. And that that saying is around for a reason because it's true. Sometimes when we're in the moment, we're so close to something, we don't understand why it's happening. Our emotions get in the way, our expectations get in the way. When we can look back after we're not so emotionally charged or connected to it.
That's exactly. I love that. So we hope that this has given you a bit of insight into dreamland, as it were, and it's kind of left you with some interesting things, takeaways and whatnot. Let us know. Let us know your experience again with dreams and what you found interesting and all that stuff. We love to read comments, so get involved. And what we talk about next time, babe?
Oh man, the next one's going to be a doozy.
A doozy.
I was the one that suggested this, and I'm nervous about it. But we're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about relationships, and we're going to talk about some of our experiences that we've had, and what is a healthy relationship versus what is not a healthy relationship. Maybe how you can build on your relationships a little bit better. And I think ultimately the most important relationship that you'll ever have, which is the one with yourself.
Absolutely. Which I've got a whole story because your girls got stories for days. So I'll tell you about story time next time, Katie, and I will tell you a whole story. What I will say is that, just kind of clarify, we're not going to be naming names. So if anybody's coming to get tea, you ain't getting a cup of tea off us, all right?
Yeah, no, unless you're watching.
Hey, if shoe fits, wear it, but we're not naming names, right?
But other than that, no, I wouldn't do that anyways. Because to be honest with you, I mean, I know we're going to get into this in the next episode, but I think that a part of healing is not wanting to hurt.
Exactly. That's like moving past that kind of revengeful anger stuff, But anyway, so yeah, if you've got anything in you want to know about relationships, or if your own experience about relationships, the good, the bad, and the ugly, let us know in the comments, and you can feature on next week's show, and we'll give you our, maybe tell you what we could start doing. Watch as problems. So we could be like agony ants. So if you've got a problem in your relationship and you want a bit of guidance, a bit of advice, put your question in the comments, and maybe you'll get featured, and we'll try and give you some advice. We can't guarantee it's going to be the most amazing advice, but we can try to help, right?
Well, statistically, I've been way better at figuring everybody else's problems out versus my own, so I'm confident about this. I am down to help other people figure out their problems. So yes, if you have a problem, put it in the comments.
We'll be your agony ants for the day, and we'll let you know what our interpretation of it anyway,
Yeah.
Sounds good. But yeah, look, guys, thank you for watching. Honestly, we really appreciate you supporting us on this. We love chatting, as you may have noticed. Have a giggle, and we just hope that you're enjoying it too. Let us know, and give us a like and all that good stuff. And yeah, just thank you for watching. Honestly, and Jess, you're a rock star. I love you to the moon and back, kid. Loads of love.
Yeah, same goes. You already know it. We say it all day, every day anyway. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being here. I really enjoy this. It's one of the highlights of my week. I just really look forward to this podcast now. So thank you for being a part of it, because it's fun. It's fun to interact with everybody. So
Exactly. Well, look, big love, everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.